Hello, my Teaser King family. How is everyone today? I am fine. So I was watching a little more Mark McGuire, and then I go to these other videos, and they're so stupid. It's hard to watch them. I mean, they get it wrong. And that's what I'm understanding. See, so in my world, there's one way to win in football. You got Mahomes or Burrow. You got a decent running back. You got a receiver and you got a defense. And then you hope you have a decent coach. And that's how you win. Kansas City, Cincinnati, San Francisco doesn't have a good defensive coordinator is what hurt them. Detroit has no defense, but they have, I'm not even sure they got the quarterback, but they do have the running back, the receiver, but they don't have the defense or the defensive coordinator. But I think what I'm running into is people trying to do it differently. And they wonder why they don't win or what's missing, where they overvalue themselves and they just don't stick to the easy formula. So when we talk economics, what are we talking? We're talking you buy gold, you get out of the dollar. Inflation is not prices. It's the money supply. It's the money being printed. When you print the money, it's worth less. Anything that there's a lot of is worth less than a little. And that's what you look at, right? So why do I get frustrated? Because people don't get that simple analogy. So I was looking on YouTube, and we'll talk Mark McGuire a little bit more. But as we talk it, we'll see what happens. I mean, there's people that don't get it, and they want to do videos, and they're all wrong. And what do you do with them? And that's what I got to learn to just ignore these people. I get a little frustrated because they don't know what they're talking about, and I don't want people to get consumed with that. Or you're hearing the wrong thing. It's like hearing in football, as I started with, well, you can win with a good offense. No, you can't. Or you can win without a running attack. No, you can't. You need a good defense. You need a good coach, quarterback, running back, and receiver. The running back and receiver should be fairly easy because there's more of them. The coaches are difficult because there's not a lot of good coaches. And that's ask San Francisco that. And Detroit will find the same thing out soon. And that. So I'm going to go through each team just to have some fun with football, because I know we like talking football, but it's hard with it's hard because there's nothing on now. The draft's the end of April, and now we have these free agencies that might sign here, might sign there, which we're not interested in. I don't want to hear this guy might sign here, this guy might sign there. I only want to hear is where did they go. Same thing with the draft. I don't want to hear Drake May or Caleb might be number one. Let's wait till the draft and we'll see what happens. We know who's the best, but we'll go through that. So we're going to go through football in a little bit. Again, for my birthday, I bought 5 ounces of silver, 26.80 an ounce. And I bought a beautiful kangaroo 1/10 ounce gold Australian in proof condition for $220, which I lent on eBay yesterday just $100. It was like over $300. And I asked the guy at the coin store, why are you selling it so cheap? He says, well, people don't buy them, and I go, but you never have them. I mean, that's like the stupidest comment. Well, nobody buys them. Nobody buys because they don't know what they are, and you don't have a lot of them. I bought you had a half-ounce gold kangaroo I bought, and now this one I bought. And you don't have kangaroos. So it's like you're making a comment based on everybody wanting American because you never have the kangaroos. And so I said, you put kangaroos out there, I'll buy them all day, especially if you're going to give me $30 discount. The 1/10 Maple Leaf and the 1/10 US are $250, and the kangaroo was $220. What am I going to buy? It's 1/10 of an ounce of gold, and it's a proof. Well, why would I not buy the kangaroo, right? So that's how I viewed it. He had a quarter ounce. He was still $5.50 in the quarter ounce. Yeah, I'm missing something here. Wait a minute. So gold was $2,000 an ounce. It's now $2,180, and you still have the same $5.50 on the quarter ounce eagle. What the fuck? So I didn't argue, but in my mind, I'm like, but this is why I'm pushing on that job. So the interview was Friday. I thought it went very well. It's like here, I don't really critique myself, but I know when I give a good class, I don't give too many bad classes, but I do repeat. We'll talk Titanic, but I'm hitting it home. But it's still a good class. I'm just trying to reach people that maybe didn't hear it the first time. They can catch it this time. But I know when I give a good class, and I don't. That's why I don't need comments. I don't need people saying good class. Okay, I get it. And I don't want negative comments. Oh, you don't know about Bitcoin or something. So I don't really want to get distracted with that. I got more important things to do than read comments. You can come here. It's live. You can say good show. Great. I'm happy. Thank you very much. You can say happy birthday. So anyway, let's start with the Mark McGuire. So let's go to Mark.
Refiners at spot prices resulted in the lack of refinery output being misread by this blinkered hedge fund group as silver market weakness. You have to give your head a shake. Also, this herd of CTAs were being gaslighted into misinterpreted the concurrent outflows of COMEX and SLV. SLV is the silver ETF. We've done episodes about this where you literally the illusionary ETF. But it can be tapped. If you're big enough, you go to your authorized participant and you can actually demand delivery of positions that you've made.
Okay, so what did he just say? If we put it in football terms, what he said was everybody likes Drake May. But we don't know why. It's an illusion. He's not very good. So what they said is these people that are doing the derivatives, these people, CTAs or whatever, are misreading the signs. When people are pulling their money out of ETFs, it's because they want to buy physical, and they should, or these other short derivatives. And he says they're missing the point. They think it's weakness in silver, so they're still doing the derivatives going, I'm going to short it, but they're really not weak. And he's saying they're really strong. They don't get it. So if we go to football analogies, everybody will get that. So they're confused by what is real and what isn't. So that's part of it. All right.
So what they saw was the COMEX open interest going down. They saw SLV, the ETF. We saw another 70 tons today with constant tonnage leaving. It really, what they did thought that was a validation of weakness, when in fact, these outflows were driven by liquidity providers representing Indian and Chinese buyers primarily, blocked by the cartel from obtaining sufficient wholesale supply and spot prices in the foreign exchange silver markets to lean into taking delivery of as much COMEX and ETF silver as they could get their hands on. However, the CME imposed COMEX position limits on how much of this synthetic priced open interest can be owned by a single entity to stand for delivery, which would mean they could then remove these buyers from the cartel's back door. Now, had it not been for the CME cartel imposed futures markets position limits of 3,000 lots per single entity, that's 467 tons per qualifying institutional player, then just last month alone, just in February, the COMEX would have been drained of every single ounce of fractionally held registered bars. This is...
So what that's telling you is the demand. There's huge demand. And what do I say about a market and a price? The more demand, the more it's worth. So they could have drained all the silver out of COMEX, means the demand's pretty high. So don't worry about your silver prices. I know we have people come here and they, why isn't silver going up? Well, that's what's being explained. We'll get into that right now, but it's all a game. It's all made off, right? It's all fake, but it's about to break. So we'll get to that.
Just at inventory. And what they're doing is just moving and completely unleveraging that 93%, fully funding it and loading it out from the COMEX vaults. That is large enough to expose the house insiders to an ultimate COMEX market default. And the current action tells us we are very, very close.
Now, Andrew, I can guess what our community is probably thinking about now as we're following along here. Run through how close are we to this?
Yeah, we need to look at this. At current silver prices at around plus or minus $24, all you need is $8,000 or just 6.7% to control each silver futures contract valued at 120,000. And given that 75% of the COMEX generated open interest is corralled in the hands of really a stampeding, led by the nose CTA herd who max out these position limits, but they never take delivery. Obviously, by never taking delivery. But because physical buyers have entered the fray, up until physical buyers entered the fray, it was easy to control the price, with the insiders loaning literally billions of dollars of unbacked paper open interest. We call them casino chips, to the herd. And insiders have been able to historically create what we just talked about, a defined wash and rinse cycle that both enrich them, but to also control sufficient open interest chips to create a synthetic silver price far below the 16-to-1 gold to silver ratio. Now, however, this is a classic case of pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. The current refusal by the London professional trade, the cartel, to provide thousands of tons of silver to meet refinery orders has placed the crosshairs on this 93% leverage COMEX Achilles heel. And leverage can work for you or against you. And while the cartel has historically been able to game this in their favor, greed has attracted a large enough, diverse group of wholesalers to secure their maximum 3,000 lots of COMEX synthetic silver and then to stand for delivery. And unlike any time since March 2020, this physical demand is sufficient to tip the balance against the cartel. And we don't even have a COVID panic this time. Liquidity providers confirm that a much larger, diverse group of traders are appearing, each one of them taking their limit of contracts, and they're appearing with the sole intention of taking delivery of extremely cheap COMEX silver. While limited to just 3,000 lots each, these groups are swelling in size, and while dwarfed by the momentum CTAs driving over 75% of all the action, which is why you don't see it, it will be the forcing of delivery of these targeted contracts that of which is forcing this 93% unwind of synthetic open interest that is going to tip the balance. And this is just as we reported the effect of central banks forcing 96%. Remember, we talked about this last time. The central banks are forcing 96% deleveraging of COMEX, NSFR compliant, deliverable gold, and that, which has been attracting the central banks and sovereigns to do the same, and ultimately forcing the current breakout from the capped ranges. Now, the difference is that while COMEX is first tier Basel III compliant, i.e. forced to be deliverable the moment it lands in the over-the-counter markets, so really they target, to get this out, you target the EFP, the Exchange for Physical Backdoor, which forces delivery of non-compliant gold into the Basel III markets. But silver doesn't do that, because basically, if silver targeted the same EFP backdoor, because it's not NSFR compliant, it would simply feed this unallocated silver back into the hands of the cartel, enabling this eternal circle that we've been seeing. So as far as non-compliant silver is concerned, it is the concatenation of the two misread signals that we talked about, which has evidenced these blinkered CTAs doubling down on their naked, I will say, naked gross and net short positions into every physically driven rally. Now they're getting caught out. But this is what's driven, it's their action that has driven, you notice we talked about from every pit open to every pit close, we've seen automated selling, mindless chasing a dot on screen, oblivious to everything else that we're talking about. And we saw that in every session during the last 4 weeks, and you wonder why silver was underperforming. And so really what we did evidence at this point, though, was actually 458 tons of COMEX deliveries alongside about 130 tons of SLV ETFs during February. And now this has picked up significantly. So really, they were looking at that as weakness, when in fact, they were just misreading what was actually very, very bullish. And that was just February. This is significantly risen. We're going to show you some mind-blowing stuff in a minute. But given the CTAs are the recipients of about 75% of all the COMEX gold and silver open interest, if you remember, that was attested to by Bloomberg, noting this same group of specs control a similar concentration of gold as in the oil markets. And so basically, we have a Goldman assessment we're going to link, which was captured by Zero Hedge. It's easy to read. It lifts the lid on the same synthetic CTA actors controlling what is a similar 75 to 80% of the oil markets. And the article was titled...
Okay, so what he's saying, I'll put it in English. When you have silver so cheap, you are attracting other people. So the COMEX game is they do derivatives for silver. They short it. They buy it themselves. So it never leaves anywhere. And they do it with a little bit of silver. Like you said, $6,000 controls $200,000. So they're playing this little game, and they got caught. And now all these outsiders are coming in saying, I want the silver at these low prices, because they're not market prices. The demand is huge. This is what is ending COMEX silver. they will run out of silver and the ETFs. They want to sell it at 24. People realize the dollar's going out. The central banks, what are they doing? They're buying gold hand over fist at these cheap prices of $2,000, $2,100. And now here comes silver, and they're realizing, wait a minute, silver's 24. This is a joke. And now they're all running into COMEX, into the ETFs, and buying them at these ridiculously low prices. But they can only buy like 3,000 ounces or 3,000 contracts at a time. So they've invited unintentionally other people in, and they can't get them out. Now, example would be me and Bobby are playing a game. I'm going to sell this Mahomes card to him for $10. And then Bobby doesn't really buy it. We just keep that way. This card's only worth $10, even though it's a 50 count Mahomes. So Bobby buys it, but he really doesn't take delivery. We keep doing it. I sell it again. He pays $10. So it looks like this card's only worth $10. But then Nick comes in and Nick says, fuck, I'll take the card for $10, but I really want it. So I put it up for auction, expecting Bobby to buy it for 10. And next thing I know, Nick bought it. And I have to give it to Nick because it's on eBay, and I must give him the card. Even though the game is me and Bobby, I'm selling it to him for 10, but he doesn't take delivery. So it looks like this card's only worth $10 when we know it's worth 5,000. So then Nick goes, shit, if I can get it for 10, AKA silver, if I can get silver for $24, $25 an ounce, load up the truck. So in effect, that's what's doing is Nick's interfering with me and Bobby doing this. And so Nick buys the card for $10 and should be 5,000 because Nick's smart. He sees the value in the card, realizing it's not priced right. That's what's happening with silver. They realize it's not priced right. So they're in there. So all these other people, China and India and Russia, I don't know if Russia can get in. They're all picking up and buying the silver at 24, and industrials and everybody who wants to buy are buying the silver. Me and you go to my coin store and we buy, I bought 5 ounces yesterday. I mean, at $26, it's a joke. But most people don't see. Most people are stupid. See, Nick's smart enough to realize this is not the right price. And me and Bobby are keeping the price down because we want to buy the other 49 of them, right? And look, it's only worth $10. That's our scheme. It's only worth $10, so we'll look for the other 49 and give them $10. That's our scheme. But Nick's come in and intercepted, saying, "I'll take it for $10." And so Nick buys it for 10, right? So in the silver world, the way the public looks at it, if they see the price is low, what's good about us is we can problem solve and analyze. If the ice hits the Titanic, the iceberg, and it makes a hole and the water comes in, we then say the ship's going to sink, we need to get off. Well, people that see the gold and silver price low can't do 2 + 2 = 4. They think it's low because there's no demand or it's not worth anything or whatever. They don't understand it's low. They don't understand it's price fixed from JP Morgan. So they miss all the details and they just see a low price. And they go, oh, well, like Mahomes. Oh, well, this is only worth $10. Why would I buy it? Well, it's not worth 10, but it's being fixed. It's really worth 5,000. And that's what the silver is, right? It's not really $24. COMEX is keeping the price down. So if you're intelligent like us, you go, fuck, it's a joke. It's way undervalued. But most of the public can't think like us, and they sit there and they go, oh, I don't want it. It's only 24. And I was watching a video yesterday on silver or gold. I think it was on gold. And it's just like, it's going like hotcakes because the price is going up. People are realizing this guy didn't have any gold left. People are realizing that it's got a value. And they're coming into the store and buying it. So that, in a sense, is what's happening on. People are realizing COMEX is made off. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's not real. They're controlling a large amount of ounces. As he said, $6,000 controls $200,000 of silver. So with a little bit of silver, they control a lot, and they keep the price down. But the demand, but it's paper. It's not real. And what people should be realizing is, wait a minute, this is worth a whole lot more. And like I said, it's at least, in my mind, down the road, 2,000. Well, let's even say 500. It's a $500 ounce of silver I can get for 25. How much physical can I buy? That's why every chance I can, I get it. And that's why I want the job. I want the job so I can buy gold and silver. That's the unique thing. I don't, I enjoy the job, and, but if the more silver and gold I buy, and as it's going up now, the gold, it puts us closer to the beach. So anyway, so that's what's happening, and people are figuring it out. And now people are buying out of the ETF and COMEX all their silver. When silver runs out, they don't play the game. I can only play the game if I have the Mahomes card. Me and Bobby can only play the game if I have the card. But once it's gone, the game's over. Once silver is gone, the game's over. They can't do a derivative if they don't have any silver. The ETFs are absolute, like you said, it's an illusion. What they do is they take like 1 ounce and they value the ETF versus the gold price and try to let you believe that it's really physical gold. But you can't take it. You can't get the physical. You don't own the physical in an ETF. So it's just like doing an ETF on Mahomes. The card's worth 5,000, so the ETF's worth 5,000, whatever, and they get a value. But you don't own the card. And if you want the card, you can't get it, right? So it's only on paper that you have something, but it's not real. So you can't take delivery of the gold on the ETF. That's why you don't buy it. Your only safety and the smartest is to buy the physical coins. That's it. Not an ETF, not a stock. Sure, the stocks will go up, but after it crashes, the ETFs, it's paper. It won't go up. Even if it goes up, it's paper, and you'll never take the gold. And when the dollar runs out, what are you going to do? All right. So let's go to.
Refusing to answer those questions. Although gold is still somewhat impacted by these officially sanctioned position limit violations, this changed after gold was reclassified as a first-tier deliverable asset class on the 1st of January 2023. Now, gold is now ultimately deliverable, which limits the scale of interventions for precisely the exchange for physical loadout reasons we just really outlined.
So that means we're getting a physical price on gold now, because the derivatives, the paper, is going away because everybody's buying the gold cheap. Everybody knows the dollar's gone. All the bankers know it. The central bankers are buying it. And now they're starting to buy silver. They're starting to realize, like the lights going on, going, oh, wait, it's not just gold that's money. It's silver's money also. So now they're getting the silver because they realize, well, gold's going up in price, but silver's still $24 an ounce, $25 an ounce. So now they're all buying the silver and the same thing. So the demand is huge. When the demand's huge, price has to go up. Buy as much as you can at $24.25.
However, as silver is not SFR compliant, what we have been witnessing during 2024 trading began since the commencement of this 2024 trading. Silver is being leaned on, psyoped to weigh on gold sentiment. This is how desperate they are. Now, the Fed intervenes in the foreign exchange gold and silver markets primarily because if they allowed an unencumbered real supply-demand price to be discovered versus the dollar in an open marketplace, it would expose the real inflationary inputs, which in turn would drive a further exit out of dollars to be exchanged for gold and silver. This is the battle that they're fighting, losing battle they're fighting. However, it's precisely those synthetic interventions that are driving the current physical market tightness. No matter what the commodity, there will always be a buyer and a seller. And the equilibrium price is what naturally emerges. So you take out the 96% leveraged synthetic gold supply, and most liquidity providers estimate that the current equilibrium price of gold would be around that same percentage higher, $4,000 per ounce on a bad day. And in silver, at $4,000 gold, a real 16-to-1 ratio would put silver at $250 an ounce.
Wow.
There you go. That's conservative, and that's before the run into gold and silver. That's what it is today, but I still defend it's a $20,000 an ounce gold price and a $2,000 an ounce silver price because of the emotion. We see it in football all the time. The spread goes from 3 to 5 to 6 to 7. As I said, that Fresno State San Jose State game, I go to bed, it's Fresno -7. I wake up, it's Fresno -11. So keep that in mind, that you must you've got to take emotion into it. As the price goes up, more people will run in. So the variables changed in the analysis. That's why it's much higher. But right now it'd be 4 and 265. But if the price, as soon as the price gets there, it's 10 and 1,000, because then everybody starts waking up going, oh, fuck, I better buy it. And the frenzy comes and the panic comes. Oh, shit, I don't have any. And everybody runs more into silver. Silver will run because if gold hits 10,000 an ounce, I know a lot of people now that are having trouble with silver at 25 an ounce. Oh, I'm poor. And I go, well, you better fucking you better take $100 out of your paycheck and buy 4 ounces of silver. You don't understand how that will help you. So that's the whole point of it. Once you realize what it is, then you buy it cheap. So that's why I say we're 3-4 steps ahead of the game. We've been buying it, and we buy it. I've been buying gold. Well, I bought gold in 95. I got this and a couple ounces. Then we got all the football cards, and then, and ironically, if I get PSA 10s on my Mantle and my Orr and my Walter Payton rookie and my Montana rookie, I'll make more than I ever could have in gold, because look at the Montanas, $125. Well, I paid $100 for it. So if I bought $100 worth of gold, it's not going to be worth $125. Now, they're not 10s. They might be, and I hope they are. But at this point, they're ungraded, mint condition cards. So that's what I'm hoping for. But then I started buying more. When Biden got in is when I really started a frenzy on gold and silver. Mostly, a lot of the gold I bought early at $1,700 an ounce. Now it's at 22. I have no notion of selling it at this price. This price to me is cheap. I will not spend. I'm not in it to make $500 an ounce on the coins. I'm in it to get out of dollars. So let's understand what the boat's doing. We get out of dollars as the boat got hit by the iceberg. The dollar's going to zero. Central banks know it. And with Russia and China pushing for gold and saying, well, we're just trying to compete with the US dollar, there's no competition. They know, they might say that, but they realize this and this versus gold are not competitive, right? Gold's Kansas City, and this is Chicago and Atlanta, right? There's no competition. They might say we're not trying to get rid of the dollar or the euro, but we all know that's bullshit. And we all know there's no competition for gold because gold can't be inflated. It can't be printed. That's the difference. You print the dollar. And I think the biggest problem with the dollars are you let the government run it. I mean, if you have to have a dollar and you want to keep it fiat, I would think the only way you can do it is have 4 or 5 banks do it, and they compete. Which dollar do you prefer? And then they hold each other in check. So if Comerica or, if Wells Fargo starts inflating, then you buy JP Morgan's dollars. But that keeps Wells Fargo from inflating people will go buy JP Morgan's or Chase's or Bank of America. So we better keep the dollar in check and not print it. A lot of it is the warmongers want to go to war, and it's expensive. It's a very expensive thing to go to war. There's no revenue involved. You're not making any money. So you're building tanks and guns and boats and planes, and it's expensive, and missiles, and where you get the money from it, because there is no revenue from it, right? And that's the problem. So it's really hard to have a military and really hard to pay it. And that's why they don't want the gold standards. They can't print. And the corrupt politicians can't steal. That's why they don't want the gold standard. Very simple. But we understand if you're not on the gold standard, so you got to say no to the military and have a very small military to protect. And that's it. You don't need, we're pretty big. So we need the Pacific and the Atlantic coverage, but that's that's where we're at. But it's got to be in the budget, right? You got to have, here's how much gold we have, interest rates are low, taxes are low, free trade, and you basically, the government's not to be really to run the country runs itself, and then by having competition, the banks control the money. But really the best way is the gold standard, because it keeps everybody in check and you can't print it, right? You can't inflate gold. That's the beauty of gold. That's why the dollar can't compete with gold. So when China and Russia say, we're not trying to, we're not trying to destroy the dollar, we just want to compete. Yeah, but if you're competing with gold, we got Mahomes on the team and Burrow and Chase and Jefferson. Yeah, we're just trying to compete. We're not, and there's no way you can't compete with that team. You put Mahomes with Chase and Jefferson, give them Kelsey and their defense. I mean, they probably wouldn't lose a game for 5 years. I mean, who could possibly cover the receivers? And how are you going to defeat the defense? That would be, incredible. And that's the point. That we're just trying to compete. No, there's you can't compete with that. Or let it be Burrow instead of Mahomes. It doesn't matter. So that's really the point. So this is where we're headed. Is oops, the genie's out of the bottle. People are realizing the dollar's in trouble, and they're realizing COMEX is price fixing and the price is too low. See, what COMEX was doing was, you would think that's the price. Oh, it's a supply demand market price for gold and silver. That's all it's worth. And now people are starting to realize it's not the real price. It's been manipulated down, and the real price is much, much higher. And that's what we realize. And so that's why it's, you buy it all you can eat, as much as you can. I mean, instead of playing poker, I'm going to buy gold and silver, because I can't lose with gold and silver because it's cheap. But that's the point of it. And it's funny, the guy at the restaurant's like sitting there going, well, what do you do with it after it goes? It's like, what do you do with your Rolex when it goes up to 100 grand. What do you do with it? Nothing. You just hold it. I mean, I'm not in it as a stock. I'm not in it to make profit. I'm in it to get away from the dollar. And I know I'm going to make money on gold and silver. And so I just sit back and let it go. And the more it goes, the more money I make. I have no inclination of selling it unless I have to. That'll be it. When the dollar crashes, no big deal. All that goes is it goes to gold-backed currency. So it's medium of exchange. If you understand that concept, that's all you need to understand. All right. Let's go to how much physical.
Yeah, it was interesting. Pepe Escobar caught up with Sergey Glaziev. He had a most recent interview discussing the two. We talked about these two de-dollarization solutions, and as reaffirmed by Glaziev, one basket comprises of national currencies of all countries involved in the process, like the SDA, but with more clear, understandable criteria. Now, the second basket, and I think I'll just read what he says here. So basically. He says there's a huge expectation for the green light from the Russian government for a new trade settlement model, which is in the final stage of fine tuning. And he talks about the two baskets. He talks about the commodity basket that's backed with gold. And he's really I think really what he's talking about here, and I haven't got time to go through the whole thing, but essentially what's the big takeaway from here is that really, what's he saying in the first comment is that it is in the final stages of green light, and it's being fine tuned. So watch out above. This is coming. So basically, I think this all leads really just to one question, guys, and it is the only question left. Given the physically settled global markets are now turning on to the undervalued COMEX futures exchange for physical delivery, and a real gold and silver price will emerge from the paper market ashes. How much physical gold and silver do you own?
All right, thank you.
So the initial question was, what's going on with the gold-backed currency for BRICS in Russia? And it's in its final stages. It'll be backed by gold. Not ETFs. I mean, I read some things and the bullshit that comes out on Google. Well, it's derivative gold. No, it's not going to be ETF gold. It's going to be physical gold backing the currency. You can't have ETFs because it's not. It's not. You got to have enough gold to cover it. So it should be gold backed, and it'll be out to this last stage, and we're in March. So, like we thought, second quarter. And here we go with physical gold, a physical gold currency. Now, we're not trying to compete with the dollar. We're just trying to give an option. Yeah, okay. And who's going to stay in the U.S. Line? That'll be funny. So that's a little bit more streamed on Mark McGuire.
I never thought as a pediatrician that I would be at all useful in a war. My name is Seema Jalan.
For, not
So I saw this video. I didn't watch it. And the title is Chinese capitalists and Russian capitalists don't want the dollar replaced because their wealth is in dollars. And this is shut the fuck up. This is 5 months ago. Okay, so I see a video like that and I want to throw up because how many people have watched this? 156,000 people are getting bad information. How can Russia be in dollars? They're sanctioned as well as China, right? So this is Chinese capitalists and Russian capitalists don't want the dollar replaced. Why not? The dollar is getting replaced because it's printed to zero. I don't care if the dollar gets replaced as long as I have a gold-backed currency to go to. I don't need the dollar. He's saying, well, they trade in the dollar. And my answer is, you know what? You sell dollars for gold and silver like we're doing. We're getting out of the dollar because it's worthless, and we're getting into gold and silver. So at what part does this idiot not get that because they deal in dollars or they have dollars that they don't want it to go away? But it's worthless. Why don't they want it to go away? And this is what really bothers me is idiots who do videos like this, who misinform people, who watch this, who get the wrong idea. You sell your dollars and buy gold and silver. This is what we're doing. I don't want to be in dollars. I want to be in gold. And, oh, they trade with America. Well, how long are they going to trade when the dollar's worthless? That's the point. Does China really want to trade and get U.S. dollars that are worthless? Does the debt not warrant that the dollar's worthless? Well, I'll keep selling to the U.S. and I'll keep getting worthless dollars. I mean, that's what he's saying, right? I will trade. I want the trade with the dollars because we need that. Let's see some comments here.
Before these animals were adopted.
Who gives a fuck?
No.
Shut the fuck up. He's an amazing person. He explains complicated topics in the most simple way so normal people could understand what's going on. This is why I don't want comments. The dollar is not as weaponized. I thoroughly enjoy it. The man needs to be protected. Okay. There's an old saying, when you owe your bank 10,000 pounds, you have a problem. When you owe your bank 1 million pounds, your bank has the problem. It's not a matter of wanting dollars or not. The point is, how can countries manage to set plan B in case America decides to destroy their finances? Oh, we are. You buy gold and silver. That's why all the central banks are buying gold, because they realize the dollar is worthless. I think you're ignoring the fact that all of the countries you mentioned have real value-added businesses such as resources manufacturing. The U.S. is making super profits simply by acting as a middleman in terms of goods and currencies. This will fizzle out. It would be great to see Giannis in discussion with somebody else I never heard of. Given that the USD is a fiat currency, wouldn't it make sense to view it as the U.S. greatest export? Everybody else puts us in natural resources: washing machines, cars, cell phones, shoes. Whatever you're describing is the exorbitant privilege of the U.S. dollar due to global demand for an international trade. But that doesn't mean Chinese and Russians want the U.S. dollar to continue enjoy exorbitant privilege. It's just that there isn't any better alternative, in the meantime, but they're working towards it. So, yeah, I mean, so when I see this, I just go like, what the fuck's this guy's talking about? This one I like. I like this guy. Ukraine will end Western hegemony. Neutral studies. This guy's name.
It must be true. This is how.
This guy's name is,
human beings learn. So this is why repetition
Glenn
is very, very
Deason.
important.
He's an Austrian. He's pretty good. I've watched this one. Let me see. I think I commented. Yeah. I watched it a week or two ago. Anyway, he's a good one to watch. So it's this one. So I'd recommend watching this guy. He sounds he's like one of us. What the hell is this?
Hi, I'm the Teaser King. I've been
I know I'm
handicapping
the
football.
Why is this coming on my light? So there was another idiot I saw. Let's see. Well, there's a guy, I can't find it. It's a guy named Michael Pinto, who's an idiot. Please don't watch him. I don't know. I can't find it. So he's a lot of these guys, Rick Rude, anybody recommending you to buy stocks, ignore, they're idiots, right? You don't want to buy stocks now. The stock market's going to crash because, just like they're saying, as the gold backed currency from BRICS comes out, everybody's out of the dollar, which means all the foreigners are going to pull the dollar out. So they're all in. So I live in Germany, and I don't trust the euro, so I get US dollars, and I buy stocks and a house and stuff in the US. And and a lot of countries do that. Oh, the US dollar is better. It's safe haven. The game's fixed for the US dollar. So I'm going to do that. When they do that, they then have the confidence that the US dollar is safe. So that's the best investment for me is the US dollar. So I'll buy stocks and bonds and real estate trusts and everything else. But once they realize the dollar's no good, which a lot of the central banks all are buying gold, they're all getting out of dollars, buying gold. So as that happens, as the regular guy realizes that the dollar's no good, or as they realize the BRICS coming out with the gold-backed currency, they start getting the light goes on. They go, I've got to get out of the dollars. So they sell their stocks, the real estate trusts, the bonds, the houses, whatever they have in US dollar, they sell. And that's when the market collapses. So just be careful with that. But that's where we're headed. All these people coming and realizing they're in trouble, right? But they don't realize it yet. They're the people on the Titanic that go, yeah, we hit an iceberg, and yeah, the water's coming in the boat, but we'll be okay. It can't. I love the Titanic can't sink. Yeah, okay, really? Okay, keep thinking that. I'll be in the lifeboat. So when you can swim in 20-degree water, that's fine. So that's what we realize. So again, I bought 5 ounces of silver and the 1/4 ounce kangaroo yesterday. My birthday present. But so keep that in mind. So Mark McGuire gave us a good brics are coming soon, which is good. And the real price of gold, just say 5,000, silver 500 is really where we're getting to. We can see, let's look at the gold price. Where did it end yesterday? So it's at 2178, up 17. And the noticeable 10 o'clock, there was a small dip from 2182 at about 9:30 to 2170. So it did drop about $12, really just before 10 o'clock. Actually, at 10 o'clock, it went up and came down like $2. And then at noon, it jumped to 2194. Why it didn't hold 2194, I don't know. I don't know who'd be stupid enough to profit take it, but it did go up. Silver, as we've just heard, is about to go through the roof, but it's being held down by these CTA guys who, when they see the ETF strain, think there's no demand for it, and they're all going to lose their ass. So silver 24.31, just give that a little bit of time to break, and then everybody wants silver is going to drain it, and they're buying 3,000 tons at a time, I guess, and it's the next to be liquidated because not that gold's high now. Gold's only 2178, but it's going higher. It'll force you to buy silver because it'll be expensive. That's where it's headed. I saw one guy, the question was, why is gold going up? And of course, the guy doesn't understand. It's because COMEX has left the building, right? Elvis has left the building. Elvis has left the COMEX. And that's what's happened here. The COMEX derivatives have gone to Bitcoin and away from gold. That's why gold's going up. But we understand that, but most of these other people are idiots, so they don't understand that. So if they're asked why is gold going up, it's because the COMEX is no longer able to hold the gold down, period. There's almost no gold left in COMEX or in the ETFs. Now it becomes free market, and then it really goes through the roof, and that's what we're waiting for. So I think once we see 2,300, so it's near 2,200. People still think it's going to drop. Well, it won't. It's going to keep going because what made it drop was the derivatives, which aren't interfering anymore. So now it's getting more to a real price, and it's going to go up because the demand is huge because the dollar's fucked, right? The dollar's worthless. The guy at the rib place, I told him to it. He says, well, what do you mean worthless? I go, it's not worth anything. I says, the reason you take it is you have to. You're forced to take dollars because the government forces you, as the medium of exchange is the dollar. So you don't have a choice. I come here to eat. I pay you in worthless dollars. You're basically getting nothing for your food. And that's when he said, well, I should say I accept gold and silver. And I said, you bet your ass you should. It'll do two things. It'll make people think about gold and silver. And you might actually start getting some silver in. Because that's why people come to my gold store to sell it, is they need money. So they give them an ounce of gold, and they get with the ounce of gold, and they get cash because they need to pay their bills. So people are getting to that. Well, the older people who have the gold and silver are needing money because they're fucked because they're on a fixed income and inflation's killing them. The younger people can switch jobs and maybe get more money in, but the retirees are fucked, especially when the stock market crashes and you're in Coca-Cola for your 4% dividend. That ain't going to be there because they're going to, the stock will go down so much that they won't have any value. And that's why I get upset when I hear these people on the radio talk about retirement planning. They're like financial advisors talking about retirement planning, and they don't mention gold. And you just sit there like, how do you sleep at night telling people to buy dividend stocks? What are you, crazy? That's how you'll retire. You need cash flow, so you're going to buy Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and you'll get into AI and electric cars, and oh yeah, but the market's going to crash, and all your money will be worthless, and you'll be 75 years old, and your $1 million turned to zero. Oops, I fucked up. Yeah, you want to listen to those guys, you'll be broke. You want to listen to us, you're in gold and silver, and the money's going up, and you're protected, and it can't go to zero, and that's where you want to be. So that's Mark McGuire. Here's our gold and silver, 2178. All I know is every day since March 1st, so a week ago Friday, and then the whole week, it's gone up about $15 a day. I don't know why only 15, and people still have reservations that, gold, it'll go back down, because they don't understand COMEX is not in the loop anymore. Once you realize that, but you got to realize COMEX is price fixing it. Most people don't realize that. Do you realize gold's price fixed? And I get the deer in the headlight look. What do you mean? I don't have the ambition to read into it. I get my interview with the CFO for this bullshit company, not the one yesterday, the one a couple weeks ago. Do you know why gold's at 2,000? He says no, and I'm like, don't you think it's kind of weird that it's 2,000? Wouldn't you want to investigate that? Like, why don't you know that? Why doesn't your thought process go, yeah, that's kind of strong. Why is it at 2,000? And again, these people don't understand gold. And these are these sheep. They don't think. They can't think. The biggest thing I want to do with you is teach you how to think. Why is gold at 2,000? Why is silver at 25 an ounce? We have massive inflation. What is it? No, it's not prices going up. They're printing the dollar to zero. They're printing the dollar too much, too many dollars. Increase the supply, lowers the value. So you have this huge inflation of printing the money. You have this huge $35 trillion debt. You should understand that the money is worthless, and then you should understand, well, why is silver at 20? That should lead you to going, wait, silver and gold are money. They can't be inflated because you can't print it. That should trigger you to think that's really weird. It's 25. That leads you to COMEX, JP Morgan, and then it's another Madoff scheme. And then you go, oh, maybe I should buy it because I know that's not the real price. But then why would it break? And that's what I hear. Well, for 50 years, it's been low. Well, no. 50 years ago, silver was $1.50 an ounce. Now it's 25. So don't say it hasn't gone up. And if you didn't have the COMEX blocking it, it would be $1,000 an ounce. See, that's my point. It did go up from $1.50 to 25. Gold went from 37 to 20. So look at this. I did this, a couple of weeks ago. Gold was $37, and now it was $20.50. Now it's $21.80. I mean, it's gone up $125 in what, 2 weeks? Maybe what, 3 weeks? There you go. And it's really because it's priced in dollars. So the biggest concept you have to understand is things are priced in dollars will go to zero and get priced in gold and silver, or the gold-backed currency. That's what you must realize. So I know that this goes to zero, but I then know it gets priced in gold. Most people won't know that. This will go to zero. Your house will go to zero. You'll freak out. You go, oh my God, it's worthless. How can the house I paid $300,000-$400,000 for be worth nothing? Because it's priced in dollars. That's why. So once you realize that it's the things priced in dollars, like Bitcoin, like stocks, will go to zero. And that concept's so far over everybody's head, but us, it's unbelievable how stupid people are to not catch the concept of the dollar being worthless and everything's priced in dollars. So everything priced in dollars, the dollar goes to zero, the price goes to zero. Now, everybody will freak out. The government, I'm sure it's over their heads because you're dealing with the biggest bunch of idiots ever as you watch them print the money to zero and blow it up on purpose. So let me see. You got a bunch of idiots running the country. The debt's 35 trillion. Well, we'll just ignore the debt. You're inflating the dollar to zero. What's your plan? Oh, we'll have digital dollars. And how are you going to do that? You don't have any money. You can't just create digital dollars. It's just you gotta bet. You can't just say we have digital dollars, and you don't. Oh, I got 100 digital dollars in my account. Oh, really? Yeah, good luck with that. I don't want anything to do with that because they can easily do Bankman-Fried and say, oh, well, yeah, you know what? You don't have any. And I don't know what kind of plan that is. It sounds like an idiot's. All right. So now that I'm trying to protect you, let's go to football. Let's have a fun topic. I know Greg and John, wherever you are today, is itching for this. Bobby, where the hell are you? I haven't seen you all week. All right. We're going to go team by team. And then we're going to walk how to figure out next year. So what have we discovered in football? You have to understand the team. Do they have a good quarterback or not? How's their defense? The coach okay? Are they an over team or an under team? Are they a team or a Z team? Which allows you how to pick it because you want to bet against the Z teams. You want to bet the over teams over and the under teams under. So in college, we love betting the under in the Iowa games, Iowa State games. And in the USC Colorado games, we like betting those over because they score and have no defense. So college we'll look at later, but let's look at pro. We have 32 teams. So let's go right down the list. I'm going to go down week 17. And for my defense, I'm looking at the last 7 or 8 weeks, not the whole year, because adjustments were made. I want to see what the team looked like after they finally got into shape and whatever. So we'll go by the game. So the first one is the JETSs, the Jets. I have them as a W team, but with an asterisk, Aaron Rodgers is out and they don't have a quarterback. There's 4 things you need. You need a quarterback, a running back, a receiver, and a defense. Actually 5, and a coach. So we like the Jets coach. He's a defensive coach, so we like their defense. Their offensive coach sucks. Their quarterback, if it's Aaron Rodgers, okay, now they have a good offensive coordinator, but without Aaron Rodgers, the coordinator's terrible. They have a decent running back, so no quarterback, no OC, no offensive coordinator, good running, decent receiving, not terrible, and a strong defense. So we have no quarterback and a strong defense. I actually got them as a W team or a Z type of team, where I've got them. They don't score much, but their defense actually ended up being a 24. that's why they're not an under team, because their defense gives up 24, but it was much better early in the year. They had obviously injuries, but they don't score a lot. So when you're a weak team, you don't score and your defense isn't that strong. So that's what we had last year. You got Trevor Siemian or whoever at quarterback. Like I said, decent defense, decent running, and a terrible offensive coordinator, but a good head coach. Who's your defensive coordinator? So, okay, now how do we take them from this year to next year? Well, what do they need? They need Aaron Rodgers back. Aaron Rodgers back with this defense. They have the running and they have the receiver. Their offensive coordinator is for Rodgers, so they would be fine. They would turn into an A team if they get Aaron Rodgers, meaning they can beat anybody and they have a strong defense. I think they have a good running back, like Breeze or Bryce or something. Decent receivers. Yeah, they have all the Green Bay receivers. So it all comes down to Aaron Rodgers. Or do they draft Bo Nix, Penix? I don't know if Hartman will be there. I don't know about if Daniels will be there. So we need to see the draft and the free agents. Really, it comes down to their quarterback, because I think they're okay defense, running back, and receiver. Now it comes to quarterback. Rodgers comes back, they're an A team. If he doesn't, do they draft Bo Nix? Then, okay, now we got to see Bo Nix 4 or 5 games. So first thing is getting the quarterback, or Aaron Rodgers can play. And then Aaron Rodgers, I don't need to see. He's proven. It's like if Brady came back. I don't need to see him. Bo Nix, Penix, Daniels, we need to see them about 4 or 5 games to realize what we got. You Houston people who are in love with C.J. Stroud, I again warn you, he's an Ohio State quarterback in a system that does not produce good quarterbacks. So after watching him play these weak shit teams and trying to warn you he's not that good, and then you get Baltimore in the playoffs, he doesn't show up. So he'll be fine against Indy and Tennessee and Jacksonville at home, but they lost at Carolina last year. So what we're looking at are 2 things: the quarterback you have and the quarterback if you draft one, the new player. Did you get a new coach? All right, so that's the Jets. Could be an A team if Rodgers comes back. We'll have to wait and see if they draft like a Bo Nix or a Penix, how good they are in this Jets system. Next is Cleveland, who played the Jets. So we're just going to go right down the schedule. Cleveland I have as an E team. They had quarterback problems. Deshaun Watson's terrible. I do think Thompson Robinson could be good. Again, he got hurt. I like Chubb. Hunt was okay. They got receivers, Amari Cooper. They got a very good defense. So they're very close to being an A team. What do they need? A quarterback. What do? They have Deshaun Watson under this huge contract. They're fucked because they'll, even with him, need a quarterback. Now, Thompson Robinson is good, but he's not Bo Nix or Penix or Daniels. So this is where they will have to see is how good Thompson Robinson gets. So Cleveland's a quarterback away. Now, I doubt they draft a quarterback because they're paying too much to Watson and Thompson Robinson. Coach seems okay. Defense, very good. Running backs, very good. Receiver. So they're a quarterback away from being an A team and being a Super Bowl type team, a a big, strong playoff team. Detroit, they're an over team. They score 27 points and give up 27 points. They have an average quarterback in Goff. I think they have a better quarterback in Hooker. You can ignore if they beat Alabama 50-49 all you want. Bottom line is they beat Alabama 50-49 because of Hooker. So you can ignore it and say it's not real and, I don't know. At the end of the day, he fucking beat Alabama and a few others. And he lit it up. He's a very good quarterback. Hurt his knee, but that's fixed. That happens all the time. So you need really Hooker at quarterback. This is to be a big playoff team, a good A team. You got the running back, Montgomery. You've got the receiver, St. Cloud. But you don't have the defense. And you don't have a good defensive coordinator. And you don't have a good head coach. So Detroit is really an over team because they can score, because they have a good offensive coordinator, but their defense is terrible. As you saw, okay, so you want to think they have a good defense. All right. They give up 28 to the Bears. They give up about 30-something to Green Bay, Thanksgiving. They give up 30-something to Lamar. We saw what Kansas City did to Lamar. Then we get to the playoff game. Okay, 23 to the Rams. Not bad. Give up 20-something. What was their scores? So they beat the Rams 24-23. They beat Tampa 31-23. Tampa's an under team. You give up 23 points to them is not good. And then against Frisco, you give up 34. And the problem is you've got them 24-7. So you give up 27 points and a half against the Niners. In token, Kansas City's got Baltimore 17-7. They don't blow the lead, and they win 17-10. They give up 3 points to Lamar, the great and powerful quarterback who sucks. But look at the difference. The Lions give up 24 points to Purdy, and KC gives up 3 to Baltimore. And that's the difference. Detroit does not have that A defense. Their defense is very weak. The defensive coordinator is very weak. So I'm listening to the radio yesterday, everybody saying how, the Lions are, get free agency, get this guy or that guy. Or in the draft, they should go get an offensive guard or whatever. Now, how did that do for you? You got your 31 points, but you lost 34-31. And had you gotten to the Super Bowl, you would have got your ass kicked. It wouldn't have been close in the Super Bowl. They'd have gotten killed. So what you got to realize is, why did Kansas City win? Their defense. Baltimore's got a good defense. They don't have a quarterback or a head coach. So this is the problem with the team with the weak defense or an over team. They won't do anything in the playoffs. Now, they got Hooker if they play him. So they got their offense. They need a head coach. They don't realize it. And they need a defensive coordinator. How do you keep a defensive coordinator that gives up 27 a game? And in the playoffs, he gives up 34 to the Niners, and you give up 23 to Tampa and 23 to the Rams. How do you keep the defensive coordinator? What is he showing you that's any good? We don't have the players. We need to draft better players. It doesn't matter who you draft. You could have Jack Lamb, L.C. Greenwood, Joe Green, and Mel Blount back there, not with this coordinator, because the difference between Jack Ham and whoever your linebacker is not that much because they're pros. I know Jack Ham was a superstar, and L.C. Greenwood was a good player. He wasn't he was a star, but not anything you can't replace. Again, these are all pros. So if you just have 11 pros on your defense, you're fine. But look what's happened. You put in a safety that the ball comes to him at the 5-yard line, hits him in the face mask, and the guy catches the ball. What's this guy doing on your team? What's this guy doing in your secondary? He can't even catch the ball. Not only can't he catch it, it hits him in the face mask and lets the receiver catch it. You can't. That's not acceptable. So the coach is playing this guy who has no business being out on the field, cost you a a Super Bowl appearance, because that was a critical part. You're up 10 points. No, you're up 14 points at the time. He does that. Now you're up 7. Then you fumble. Now the score's even. So if he catches the ball, you're still got a 14-point lead. Game's probably over at that point. That's your defensive coordinator, having the guy out there who shouldn't even be on the team. So that's really where the problem lies. So the Lions will be an over team with that defensive coordinator, no matter who they draft them. They could get Mean Joe Green and Jack Lambert. There's still going to be a 27 defense because of their coach. And there's still going to be a problem because of their head coach, who wants to go for 4th down every chance, and he costs them a chance to the Super Bowl. You can say he's aggressive, and I don't have a problem with him being aggressive, all that bullshit. Go ahead and say that, but in reality, I watch a lot of football. You don't see in the Super Bowl, they kicked field goals and went to overtime. They didn't go for it on 4th down. And look at the Buffalo game against KC. They didn't go for it on 4th down. Nobody goes for it on 4th down except for the Lions coach. He's delusional, thinking he's going to make every one, and he's delusional, not understanding the other team's defense. You're not doing that against the Niners. Are you fucking kidding me? The Niners, with their defense, the Niners have an 18 defense. You think you're gonna get 2 4th downs on them? You ain't getting 1 4th down on them. You're lucky to get 1st downs on this defense. Anyway, so Detroit is an over team. They score. Goff's okay. Hooker's better. Good receiver. Good, terrible defense. Terrible defensive coordinator. So they're missing pieces that Kansas City had. What does Kansas City do? Andy Reid, offensive coordinator with Mahomes. So really, Mahomes is the quarterback. They got Pacheco, they got Kelsey, and they got a killer defense. And they got Spagnuolo as the defensive coordinator. So they got the defensive coordinator. He's won how many Super Bowls with the Giants and now with KC, with the pressure, knowing how to defend, knowing how to cover, knowing what to do. It's a huge difference. And what does Kansas City do? They give him a 5-year extension because they're going, this is great. We can win the next 5 Super Bowls. We got Spagnuolo. We got Mahomes. We're all set. The Lions are going to let their offensive coordinator walk when he's the only good part of the coaching staff they have. All right. Dallas. Need a quarterback. Need a running back. Have CeeDee Lamb as the receiver. Have a killer defense. Terrible head coach. Don't know who their defense. They got a new defensive coordinator. Their problem isn't defense. The problem is that Prescott stinks. McCarthy stinks. So they don't have the full formula. They got to get a better coach. Why didn't they go after the University of Washington coach? Or why aren't they going after Nick Saban? They don't realize Dak Prescott is a choke. Pollard's terrible. I don't know why you got rid of Ezekiel Elliott and you got Pollard, and he's terrible. So they got real problems. They statistically are an A team with a 20 defense, but in reality, that's against weaker teams. That's against the Giants in Washington. They're not. You can't rely on Dak against a good defense. Against a good team, they don't show up. Even against the Lions, they beat them 20-19. They should have beat them by much more. I thought that was very weak. 20 defense. But they only scored 20 on a weak Lion. This is the 20-9. So against the 27 defense, what did I just tell you? You got Frisco putting up 34, and you got Tampa putting up 23, and you got Dallas putting up 20. Making the game much closer because Dak Prescott is not a good quarterback. So they're not understanding he's not a good quarterback. They don't have a good running back. So that would be an easy pick in the draft, pick, 4th or 5th round. And you got to get a new head coach or get him away and bring in an offensive coordinator. I think he's the offensive coordinator. Well, he doesn't know offense. You're giving him credit because he had Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't get the credit. That's like Belichick. You give him credit because he had Brady, and as soon as Brady's gone, Belichick can't even – he wins 4 games a year. Hardly the GOAT. So Dallas, this will be interesting. Do they get a new quarterback? If they don't, they're going to suck. And do they get a new running back? If they don't, they're not whole. And they're probably – it's a hard one. Are they an under team? Because of the defense, you got to respect that. So can they win games, or are they just an under team? So they seem to score a lot, but he turns the ball over a lot. So it's a real confusing thing with Dallas in the fact that they got this killer defense, but they don't play to it. So we'll see who they draft. I would expect they need a running back and they need a quarterback, but I doubt they'll draft a quarterback. Hartman would be perfect here. Bo Nix would be perfect here. Penix would be perfect here. But they'll be gone by the time they pick. They might be able to get Hartman. Nobody's really talking about Hartman. He's incredible. So we'll see. But that would be a good pick for him. If they can get Hartman, if he's around later because nobody's talking about him, then we'll see. So Dallas, they'll probably be the same, middle of the road. I think you got to look at it like this. If Dallas plays a weak team, they beat them, and they beat them pretty good. Washington, the Giants. When they play a good team, Philadelphia, San Francisco, they're in trouble, especially against a good defensive team where Prescott's going to be in trouble. Fortunately, there's not a lot of good defensive teams besides Frisco in the NFC. Most of the teams suck. Washington, no defense. Giants, the Lions, Green Bay's getting better. The Bears might have a better defense. The Vikings, the whole AFC South sucks. So, Dallas plays Carolina, they're going to kill them. Washington, the Giants are going to kill them. Frisco and Philly, they're in big trouble. So if they play Kansas City or teams like that, they're in big trouble. New England, they're an under team. They have no quarterback and a fairly good defense, but Belichick's gone. So now a whole new coaching staff. Let's wait. They'll probably not win a game with this coach. Let's see who they draft as quarterback. They got Zappy, or let's see who they pick up. Their defense will not be as good because Belichick was a defensive coordinator. They have no receivers and they have no running backs and very flighty quarterback and the coaches. So New England's now changed. Belichick's out. What do we do with them? We watch them. We give them 4 weeks of watching and especially who they play. In their division is Miami, Buffalo, and the Jets. So let's see how they play Buffalo and Miami, and let's see how they play these teams. Then we can get a feel for New England. So here's where you got to watch. You can't rush into figuring New England out, especially without Belichick, because he's the defensive coordinator and the head coach. So let's watch him. And then, so New England's you don't even bet them the first 4 weeks. We'll go to Kansas City. We'll go to Cincinnati. We'll go to San Diego, but we're not going to go fuck around with New England. Buffalo, they're an A team. So Josh Allen, good quarterback. Not Mahomes, but he's a good quarterback. We've got an average defense. Now, here their defense is a 20, but I don't know. So they're a good defense, not a great. They've got not much of a running attack, good receivers, terrible head coach. So we really got to. I like their offensive coordinator from, I think, where is he from? Georgia or Miami or somewhere? No, not Miami. I think it was Georgia's head coach or offensive coordinator. So Buffalo's a good team. Josh Allen, I think, could be a good quarterback in a better system. If Bill Walsh was the coach, he'd be better. You don't want to run the guy, and he's not that accurate. He throws a lot of interceptions. He's not sure which team, but he's got a big arm. Why is having a strong arm anything for a quarterback? It doesn't matter. It's making sure you hit your team and not the other team. So Buffalo, we will see. So they really don't need the quarterback. The running back from Florida Atlantic, he's pretty. No, they got the Georgia running back Cook. He's good. Receivers are good. The defense needs help, and because Von Miller's been injured, and I think they're losing their safeties, but they draft talent. So Buffalo's very close. They're probably a B team, but they do have the 20 defense. So keep that in mind. So Buffalo shouldn't change too much. I don't think they're getting rid of Allen, and look for them to pick up some defense in the draft, maybe an offensive lineman, maybe a receiver down near the end from TCU or somewhere that will light it up. But overall, not too bad. Atlanta, an under team. They got Heineken or they got Riddler at quarterback. They got problems. Their defense was pretty good. They actually had a 20 defense. So defensively good. I like their runners. The receivers, they got the Pitts from Florida. They need a quarterback, and I think they draft early. So they need to get one of our big five: Hartman, Penix, Bo Nix, Daniels, and maybe Caleb. I'm still out on Caleb. How do you draft a crybaby? Come on. So if Atlanta can pull in one of those quarterbacks, and I do not like J.J. McCarthy, and I do not like Drake May, they get either one of those, forget about them. They'll be an under team again. Their head coach, terrible. Defense, the defensive coordinator apparently is doing a good job with the 20 defense. So they're the quarterback away. You bring in Joe Montana on this team, all of a sudden they're a playoff team. So this is the difference. Mahomes versus Heineken and Riddler. So if they can get better on it, then that's where they go. So we will see. So right now they're an under team. Pretty good defense. They run the ball a lot, but no quarterback. So if you have no quarterback, you're pretty much going to be an under team or a Z team, depending on your defense. So if you have no quarterback, you're not going to score. If you have no defense, you're a Z team because you're going to give up a lot of points. If you have a very good defense, you're an under team because you're not going to score because you have no quarterback. So it's like the Bears. The Bears now are stacking up their defense, don't have a quarterback. So we'll see what they do. As I talk about the Bears I have as an E team. They score mid-20s. They gave up 18. So their defense, at first they were an over team. The defense got better when they added Marcus Sweat or whatever from Washington. And then they've signed a few other players. So they could be an under team. Now the key will be, what do they do with Fields? You got to trade Fields, but who do you trade him for? Do they have a running attack? I don't know. I think Fields was their runner. So you definitely get rid of Fields. He's not a quarterback. And I'm not sure I would draft, like I said, I think I would draft Daniels, especially on Chicago, versus Caleb. Caleb, sorry, he's okay. He ain't Bo Nix, and he ain't Daniels, and he ain't Penix. He moved around a lot, but that's that Oklahoma style of offense that Lincoln Riley runs. Kyler Murray, is he a good quarterback? How about Jalen Hurts? Is he a good quarterback? No, we saw Jalen Hurts lose 6 games in a row because he sucks. He can't. All you do is blitz him. He can't handle it. He can't read. I'm sure that Caleb can't read either. He threw up some touchdowns, but fuck, they lost to UCLA. They lost to Utah, who doesn't have a quarterback. They lost 6 games last year. They won the Rose Bowl or whatever game, the bowl game, with the backup threw for 6. That tells you it's a system. When the backup can throw for 6 touchdowns, why is he the backup? So is Caleb that good, or is the system? We know it's the system, right? So I really doubt Caleb. Drake May, I wouldn't even draft the guy. J.J. McCarthy, I would not draft him. These are not pro quarterbacks. They weren't good college quarterbacks. So Chicago looks like a good defensive team next year. It'll be who do they draft with the first pick and how quickly he's a good quarterback. What do they get for Fields? Maybe you get a stud running back or a good receiver. And then do they draft Bowers? Do they draft him with the 8th or 9th? So they have the first pick, I think, Carolina, and then they have their pick, which is the 8th or 9th. So they could get Brock Bowers and a good quarterback, and they're filling up their defense. They have R.J. Moore is the receiver, so they need another receiver and some good backs. So they need to fill in their offense. So they're getting close. They need a good coach. They don't have a good coach. So right now they're an E team. They could be an A team because their defense looks much better. I mean, they ended up with an 18 defense. That's good. So they just need to get a little bit better with the quarterback position and the receiver. We need to get superstar receivers for our quarterback. That's a bunch of bullshit. How many times did Tom Brady have a good receiver? What, Randy Moss? And that was it? And then all the other years, he had nothing? All right, Oakland. Oakland's an under team. Crosby, great defense, a 20 defense. Oh, no, they're a 16 defense. Sorry. They're a 16 defense with no quarterback. So they're right now a great under team. Great defense, no quarterback, so they can't score. And 16 defense. So where do they draft and who do they get? Can they get Bo Nix? Can they get Penix? Are they going to be there? We will see. But do they have a running back? Yeah. Do they have receivers? Yeah, they got whatchamacallit from Fresno. Their head coach, don't know. Offensive coordinator sucks. Defensively, it looks like they're okay. So they really need an offensive coordinator, and they need a quarterback, not O'Connell. And they probably could use another running back or receiver. Make it where you can't just double team Devontae Adams and then they can't throw. So look for them. They must get a quarterback to get better. Indy's an E team. They give up 22 a game. Minshew is a decent quarterback. Is he Mahomes? No. Is Richardson Mahomes? No. Richardson's a problem. That was a terrible draft pick. He's a good athlete. Nobody's questioning that. He's not a quarterback. He gets hurt running the ball. What's he got? He's a fucking idiot. This is the NFL, and you're going to run into guys and break your shoulder because you're too stupid to slide? Okay, yeah, I don't want that guy. Minshew's average. You need a quarterback, but they just drafted Richardson, so they're kind of fucked. So the first piece of the equation, they don't have a quarterback. I'm not sure who they're running back. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, good running back. I guess decent receivers, but they need a defense. So they're a couple of they're two of the 5 pegs, they're 2 away, and their coach was the Philadelphia Eagle head offensive coordinator. Is he a good coach? I don't know. He's not a head coach. He's an offensive coordinator. So we have to see. But apparently why is he starting Richardson? I would never start a guy like Richardson right away. Give him 6, 7 games. Let him watch and learn and teach him. You slide. And by the way, here's how you read a defense. Here's how you read a blitz and what you do with it. And until he gets that, I wouldn't even play the guy. He obviously doesn't understand that because he didn't slide and ran in and got hurt, and he's probably done. The Rams, all right, good coach. Whatchamacallit? I always have trouble with this guy, McShay. Good quarterback in Stafford, although he's old. Good running back they got last year. Good receivers and a good defense. They're probably an A team. They had a lot of young guys last year. Pukanuka and the running back you never heard of. Both looked really good. Stafford with them were much better. In their defense, Aaron Donald still there. They picked up a couple of others. So there are a couple of defensive players. The head coach is good. I'm not sure about their defensive coordinator, but I think LA is in the position to be an A team with this. They got all the pieces. They got all the offense, the head coach, and the defense is close anytime you got Aaron Donald. So look at LA to be a much better team. And they got Stenson Benson from Georgia, who, I don't know, Nick said he's an alcoholic type of guy. Well, the whole league's on drugs and alcohol. That's not a big deal. Arizona, have them as a Z team. They're probably more of an over team. They're a 27 defense. But Kyler Murray missed 3/4 of the season. So with Kyler Murray, do they have their quarterback? I think he's okay. He runs too much, but I think he's got a decent arm. Again, these Oklahoma quarterbacks usually stink in the pros because all they want to do is run. They're not, he's fast. Well, that's not one of the things I'm looking for in a quarterback is he's fast. So defense sucks, 27. Head coach sucks. Do they have a running back? Connor? Yeah. Do they have receivers? I don't know. I don't know enough about Arizona. I never see them. All I can say is I had them as a Z giving up 27 a game. So their first problem is their defense. Let's say Murray's healthy. They get a running back or a receiver. Okay, they're probably an over team. Who the hell is their coach? I don't know. So they need a coach and then probably an over team. I don't see them. They got to get better on defense. Philadelphia, an over team. They score a ton. They give up 28. You wonder why they fell apart. They give up 28. When you go to Matt Patricia as your defensive coordinator, you're fucked. So you had this Jim Schwartz as your defensive coordinator. You go to the Super Bowl. Why did you let him go? Why didn't you lock him in for 5 years? You let him go, and then what do you think? It's easy to replace these guys? They're all replaceable? You bring in a defensive coordinator that sucks. You bring in an offensive coordinator that sucks. Then you wonder what's the head coach is doing there. Is he an offensive or a defensive coach? Well, he's clearly not a defensive coach. His claim to fame is he runs a quarterback sneak. This is your head coach. So 28 defense. They lost this game to Arizona 35-31. So they can score. Hurts, not a good quarterback. You got A.J. Brown. Okay. Devontae Smith, Alabama receiver. Whatever. Good running back. The guy from the Lions. So they need a quarterback. They need an offensive and a defensive coordinator. Their problem right now is defense and quarterback. So they'll probably continue to be an over team, which is surprising because they have all these Georgia defensive players. Why they would be this bad is beyond me. Enough with the Girl Scout cookies. What the fuck? All right. So that's Philadelphia. So we will see. They'll stay with Hurts. They probably invested too much into him now. They're like the Giants. They got Daniel Jones. They gave him this big contract. They're fucked. So Philadelphia really needs a quarterback, coordinators, and a defense. So so you've got to understand Philly. You're still thinking of Philly as a Super Bowl team. And what you got to understand with Philly is they're not really the Super Bowl team. That's not who they are. KC's the same. Mahomes, Pacheco, Kelsey, and a killer defense, and Spagnolia and Reed. They're consistent. You're going to get that next year and the year after. Philadelphia is not the same team that went to the Super Bowl. Hurts is not that good. You still have the offense. The defense sucks, which doesn't make sense. You got 6 Georgia guys on your defense. You should be shutting out teams. So that's really surprising, the lack of coaching. So you need a good coach. You have the talent on defense. You don't have the coach. So if you bring in, you had Jim Schwartz, so you got to bring in a good defensive coordinator. Good luck finding that. I would bring in the Iowa or Iowa State defensive coordinator, or the Oregon or the Georgia or one of these teams, Alabama. Bring in their defensive coordinator and play their defense. Play the Iowa defense. Fucking nobody can score on Iowa. Why isn't a defensive coordinator on a pro team now? So that's where I would go if I'm Philadelphia. Go to that fucking Iowa State. These guys play fucking defense. All right. So New Orleans, I have them as an under team. Derek Carr's okay. I prefer Hainer from Fresno State. Olave, yeah, we like him, and Kamara. So they got the offense. Their defense is a 21 defense. So pretty good defense. So I have them as an under team. They don't have a good offensive coordinator. They're not scoring what they should be. With Olave and Kamara, they should be putting up at least 25, 30 points a game. So they got a problem with their offensive coordinator. Is it Derek Carr or what? Maybe. But they have they're definitely more of an under team, again, with the 21 defense, but a good defense. So they're pretty close. I think if they switch to Hainer, I think they have their quarterback, they have their running back, they have their offense, they have a pretty good defense. It's the coach, right? So they're this close, get a better offensive coordinator, and they could be an A team. Tampa is an E team. Good defense, 23 defense. Mayfield's okay, but I would prefer Trask as their quarterback. See, you have a good quarterback in Trask, but you don't play him. Why not? Trask could be another Mahomes. He was very good at Florida. He lit it up. He put up 40 on Alabama. What do you got him on the bench for? And then you got Mayfield. Well, what has he done? He didn't do shit. So that's your first problem. You got the quarterback, but you're not playing him. You need a running back. You got the receivers. The defense is a 23 defense, so it's pretty good. You need a coach, that's for sure. You need a head coach, and you need a defensive coordinator. The head coach sucks. I mean, what is he doing there? You lost to New Orleans 23-13 here in week 17. You lost to the Lions. What was it, 23? It was 31-23. You're giving up 31 points to the Lions, and you're only scoring 23 on a 27 defense. That's pretty bad. And I think one was a late touchdown. So Tampa's problem right now is the coach and the quarterback, which they have, but they're not using. Probably need a running back. The defense is pretty stout if they add a few pieces to it. So they're not bad, but they're a level below the Kansas Cities and the Cincinnatis and the Niners. San Francisco, A team, they got it all. They got Brock Purdy, McCaffrey, they got the receivers, they got the head coach who chokes, but they got him. Their problem is defensive coordinator, which they got rid of, and they'll bring in a better. But they do have a great defense, a 20 defense. They're an A team. So the Niners are the cream of the crop who you measure, but they got everything: the quarterback, the running back, the receivers, offensive. The head coach is supposedly this guru, which I'm not sure. And then the defense is strong, and you got rid of the problem, the defensive coordinator. So get a good defensive coordinator. Washington, worst team in the league, a Z team. They can't score, and they give up 35 a game. So they need a quarterback. Thurston Howell III is not your quarterback. They need a running back. They need receivers. They need a head coach. They need an OC and a DC. They need defense. They need everything. So in a Z, you're not scoring and you're giving up 35. You're in big trouble. So what do you do? Well, first thing I would do, where they draft, they should be able to get the Hartman, the Bo Nix, the Daniels, they should be able to get a good quarterback. I would get them because this year you got 5 good quarterbacks and you got the 3rd or 4th pick. So they need the quarterback. You're not winning with Howell, just like you're not winning with Drake May. So you get rid of Howell. You've got a decent running back or receiver. You got pro running back. You need to upgrade them, but okay. And then you let all your defense go. Chase Young, I said way back he was a choke because I watched him against Michigan. He didn't do anything. So that's really what you do is you watch him in the big games to see. I don't want to see Chase Young against Tennessee Tech. I want to see him against Michigan and Penn State. Both those games he doesn't show up. Well, you wonder why he stinks as a pro. Well, that's why. So they got rid of him. Sweat, I don't know why you got rid of. So now you need a defense. Well, you just had it and you gave it away. So now what are you doing? Now you got to redraft your defense. Good luck with that. And where are you going to go? Okay, Florida State. Okay, LSU, Iowa State, Iowa, Oregon, Georgia. Okay, yeah, you can. It's doable, but you need a lot on defense, and you need a defensive coordinator. So that's really the key. The defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator are critical because you got to run, but you got to run the style to the players you got. So right now, Washington. Let's see who they draft. If they get a quarterback, their defense is still going to suck. So let's see if they get their defense better. The Bears, I expect their defense to get better, but the Bears had an 18 defense anyway. So you're already sitting there with a strong defense on the Bears, and then they've added a few players. So look for them to be either an A team or an under team. Right now, they don't have a quarterback. So, you can think Fields is a good quarterback all you want, but he's terrible. So we will see, but where we at? So Washington, right now they'd be a bet against. We'll see. The quarterback's not going to be any good. If they draft Bo Nix, you got to give him 6-7 games to get you used to the NFL, as good as he is. So that's your big thing, and then getting their defense. So they might go. If the quarterback's any good, I still think they're a Z team, but they might start scoring more. And again, who's their head coach? Who's their coordinators? All that shit. It's like the Lions. They got a good offensive coordinator, but he almost left. Why don't they sign him to a 5-year contract to make sure they have a good offense? God knows they need a defensive coordinator and a defense and a head coach, but they won't admit they need a head coach. We beat a bunch of bad teams and made the playoffs. That's the look how good we are. Okay. Carolina. All right. Worst team. Them in Washington. They need a quarterback. They need a coach. They gave up 23 defensively, but I think a lot of that is because they play Atlanta and Tampa and the weak teams in the division. So look for them to suck. Again, you're not betting on Young. They gave up 23 a game. This game they lost to Jacksonville 26-0. They're the worst team. They're what we're betting against. And again, no quarterback. I don't think they have a running attack. And I don't think they have any offense. I mean, they're a very weak offense. I mean, to be a Z team, you score 14 a game. So there's no offense. I don't see Young getting any better. It's a wasted pick, but they fucked themselves because they won't go after a Penix or a Caleb or a Daniels because they got Young. This is the problem. When you fuck up, you need to end the relationship and you won't. So it's like going out on a bad date. You date a hot girl, but she's crazy. You got to cut it off. I got a date with her, but she's crazy. So I've got to cut it off and find another girl. I can't continue with the girl, even though I asked her and we went out. You've got to, she's real pretty. Yeah, but she's scrambled eggs. And that's what they got to do here. Carolina's got to be smart enough to get rid of Young, but they won't. Young showed he's terrible because Herbert and all these other quarterbacks, Burrow, they were good the first year. Right away, they were good. So I don't want to hear that Young he needs a few years. He needs a receiver. Fuck that. He should be able, these are pro receivers and pro running backs, and he can't hit the broadside of a barn. So the Carolinas, they need the quarterback first of all, and then their defense is fairly good. They need offensive coordinator. They need running, and they need a lot on offense. Their head coach is terrible. Jacksonville, I got them as a kind of an under team. They're kind of an E team. They give up 25 a game. And in their division, that's pretty bad. They look pretty bad against Houston and Indy and even against Tennessee. They need a quarterback. Lawrence stinks. They have the running back from Clemson. I don't like him either. Their defense is kind of weak at a 25. The head coach is okay. They need a defensive coordinator. They need a better defense. So they're a quarterback and some defense away and the coach, the defensive coordinator. So they're pretty good. I don't know how to bet them because they will beat somebody 20-0 and then they'll lose. Like here, they beat Carolina 26-0 and then they'll lose 26-0, against Tennessee or something. So they're a very weak team, not a bettable team because you can't figure them out. So we're going to lay away from Jacksonville. Miami, over team. They score a lot. They give up 23 a game. I had them giving up 14 a game, but after I saw who they played, I changed it to 23. So they're actually a 23 defense. They're average defense. They're okay. It's not a Kansas City defense. As we saw in that playoff game, they lost 26-7. As we saw in the Buffalo game, they got killed. They don't show up. This was against Baltimore in week 17. They lost 56-14. No defense, weak coach, weak coordinator. Tag doesn't show up in big games. They're a good team at home against a weak team. But anybody that's a good team, Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, they're going to lose. So it's just strictly who are they playing and or where's the game at. But you cannot count on Tag to win a big game. So they're laying 7. You can't lay 1. You can do it with Mahomes. You can do it with Burrow, Herbert, a lot of these, Josh Allen. You can't do it here. That's the key. So Miami, they're a very badly coached team, I think. Baltimore, they're an A team. They need a quarterback. So does Miami need a quarterback? I would say yes. They have the running and the receivers are good. They need help defensively, I think. I don't know. But why are they losing every big game they're in? That's the coach and the quarterback. A lot of turnovers by Tag. I would go after a new quarterback. Baltimore, they need a quarterback desperately. Decent running. Receivers are okay. That Zach Flowers, Defense, very strong. They have a 20 defense. So they're an A team because they can score and their defense is very good. Coach, terrible. I like their defensive coordinator, their offensive coordinator. He was from Georgia. Yeah, I like that guy. I don't know who the Buffalo, I don't remember his. They got a good OC. I liked him, but Baltimore's OC is from Georgia. So I like him. So part of their problem is their head coach. The other problem is Lamar. He's not good. They need a quarterback. And you saw it against Mahomes, who showed up and who didn't. And that's the point of what we're saying. Lamar is good against New England. Oh, okay. He's good. Baltimore. He can't beat Cincinnati. He couldn't beat Cleveland, and he struggles against Pittsburgh. He's good against Houston and teams that suck. And the league has so many of those teams that Lamar looks good. But with Lamar, it depends who they play. If it's Cincinnati and Burrow, Cleveland doesn't have a chance. Kansas City didn't have a chance. And that's what you got. So Lamar's good against weak teams. That's all I can say. He's not going to get it, but they're right now playing the weak teams. You can bet on Baltimore to win. And they are scoring. They did score a lot more last year until they met Kansas City. Tennessee, what are they doing? So they lost their head coach, big trouble. Their offensive coordinator sucks. They need a quarterback. Hopefully they don't settle on Will Levis and say, yeah, he's our guy. Oops, but he sucks. They got a 24 defense, so pretty good. But they're in big trouble now with their coach and their coordinators, whoever that's going to be with the new coach. Here's a game against Houston. They lost 26-3. What the fuck is that? Will Levis, not a good quarterback. So they need a quarterback. But they're not I don't know when they draft. We'll see. So they're still a team that without the coach, that was a bad move getting rid of the coach. So I don't know. Houston, they're an even team. They need a quarterback. I think they have running backs. I don't know about their receiver. I don't know enough about Houston on their offense. They are an E team. They give up 24, so they need help defensively. The head coach, I don't know. Just because he's San Francisco's defensive coordinator, it's San Francisco's defense that he's coaching. How is he with lack of talent, right? So Houston, again, they played the big boys in Baltimore and got killed. So that's where they are. Is Stroud your quarterback? I don't see it. Again, he's Ohio State. Not, they could have done a lot, but the problem is they won't draft Penix or Bo Nix or Daniels. There's a big difference between those three and Ed Hartman and C.J. Stroud. They're not going to win anything with C.J. Stroud because he doesn't know how to read a blitz. He's not going to win a big game. That's the problem. Beating Tennessee here is not winning a big game. And in Week 18, Houston had to win. They beat Indy 23-19. That ain't a big game either. So I refuse to think they beat Indy and Tennessee, calling them big wins. What did they do against Baltimore? What would they have done against KC? Same thing they did against Baltimore, wet the bed. Buffalo, not in the same field with Frisco, Kansas City. So they can't play. The problem is there's so many weak teams, and they're in such a bad division. They look a little bit better than they are, but they need the – Stroud is no Mahomes. He's no Burrow. He's no Herbert. Pittsburgh, under team, great defense, an 18, no quarterback. Rudolph or Pickett, it doesn't matter. They both suck. They brought in Mitch Trubisky. Who the hell's running this team that you would think Mitch Trubisky's any good? That's like, why don't they trade for Howell from Washington? Come on. We know they've got a good defense. They can run. Good receivers. They need a quarterback. Good head coach. Good defensive coordinator. They need a better offensive coordinator, and they need a quarterback. They need to trade up and get Bo Nix or Penix or Daniels. That's what they need. Then we could see them winning 4 Super Bowls in 6 years again, which is what we all want. Seattle, big trouble. They need a coach. They let Coach Pete go. And then they grabbed the offensive coordinator from University of Washington. No, you wanted the head coach, not the – you're a pro team. You don't grab the offensive coordinator. You grab the head coach. Big trouble with their quarterback, Smith. They need a good one. They got great receivers, and they got great running backs. They need help on defense. They need a good defensive coordinator. But how do you lose Coach Pete? So they're going to have coaching problems. Otherwise, they just need a quarterback. But they're a good team. So, again, we'll go down the list again in a minute. San Diego, they added Harbaugh. They've got Herbert. They've got the defense. They've got the receivers. They got the running back. They can get Brock Bowers. Look out. Harbaugh will add defense. He's always had a good defense at Michigan, at San Francisco, except for at San Diego when he started out. Look for this team to be in the playoffs. With Herbert, we don't really need to wait. I think Herbert will be better. I think what you'll see is this great defense. I think they'll be an A team. I think they'll be a live dog, which they always are, but they'll be able to, if they play Kansas City, it's going to be a 6-3 game, I would say. So look for this defense to be stout, 49er type when he was there. Look for that. So San Diego definitely should be an A team. Give them a few weeks to get used to Harbaugh now that they don't do exhibition games, because we don't want to get anybody fucking hurt. You just want to throw up with football. Denver, what do they do without Russell Wilson? They certainly got Stidham. They're in big trouble. Love the coach, Sean Payton. They need a running back. Their defense, I think, was a 22, so it's okay. They need it to get into the 20s, 1920. So they got the coach. So it's all who's the quarterback going to be. Quarterback and the running back. The defense, I think, is good. So they're a pretty good team. We just got to keep an eye on the new quarterback. Cincinnati, love Cincinnati. They're an A team with Burrow. They are they got a 25 defense. Should have been a little better. They got Burrow, they got Chase, they got the offense. The coach, I don't know how good he is. I don't care. I got Burrow and Chase. I don't need an offensive coordinator. Defensively, they had some players, and really they just need couple of stud defensive players in the draft. Outside of that, they don't. T. Higgins, I'm not a big T. Higgins fan, but I do like Chase. I'd love to see them get Brock Bowers or somebody out of LSU who's good. And but they're an A team with Burrow healthy. They got it all. KC, we know. Nothing to really say. Mahomes, Pacheco, Kelsey, Rice, and the defense, and Spagnuolo. That's the model. Green Bay, they looked a lot better. They're probably moving. They're probably a B team now. Their offense looked great against Dallas and against Frisco. Love looks decent. Not great, but decent. Good receivers, good running backs when Jones is healthy. The defense is fairly good. The coach, not a big fan of him. Defensive coordinator, maybe they're okay. So I think they're getting better. But Love's been there, so I think they'll pick up where they left off. And Minnesota, they need a quarterback if they bring Cousins back or not. Cousins he's always been a choke. So, he reminds me of like Josh Allen. Good, but a choke. So let's see who they get as quarterback. You got Jefferson. You got a good running back. The defense was an 18, so the defense was very good. The head coach was very good. So Minnesota is a team we could bet. So if I look at the Lion division, I think Green Bay is the number 1. Minnesota is 2. The Lions and the Bears are 3. The Bears, we'll see who they get as quarterback. Their defense looks very good. They need a running back. But this should be a very strong division, unlike last year was incredibly weak. I don't see the Lions winning the division because if we look at what wins defense, I would say it's Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago even. Chicago gets a good quarterback, they could win the division, or then I would say Green Bay, and then we'll see what Minnesota does. They can complement Jefferson and get some defense and a running back. So the question is going to be their quarterback, but they're very good. So what are we looking for? What changes? All right, so the Jets, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, right? If he doesn't play, they got to draft Daniels or one of these Bo Nix and just assume Rodgers is gone and I need a quarterback. If Rodgers is okay, then we'll be betting the JETSs a lot. Cleveland needs a quarterback. Watson stinks. Thompson Robinson I like. We'll see how he picks it up. Chubb should be back. Cleveland should be a very good team. Again, depending on the quarterback, if we bet them. Detroit's an over team. If they play other over teams, we just bet them over. No defense. And will they start Hooker is the question. Dallas, no, Prescott's terrible. Great defense, Micah Parsons. Terrible head coach. A new defensive coordinator. You've got the receiver. You need a running back. And you need the quarterback. So if it stays as is with Prescott, which I think it will, just be leery. They'll beat the Giants and the Washingtons and the Carolinas, and they're going to struggle with the good teams. And that's just the way Dallas is. So probably against the good defense is what you're looking at. So Prescott against the good defense is not going to show up. Prescott against the Giants in Washington will light it up, which is what he did last year. Week 18, they had to win, and they beat Washington 38-10 because Washington had a 35 defense. So that's really the key to it. We'll have to start seeing the new defenses and the new offenses. So as they become, we'll have to see the defenses next year, and the defensive coordinators are terrible. Tampa's and the guy in San Francisco they got rid of. So that's the key is watch the defense. Then we know what we can do with them. If they have a good quarterback, we can bet on them. If they don't, they're an under team. If they don't have a good defense, Detroit, Miami, Washington, we bet them over. So let's see. So New England, we got to see who their quarterback is. We got to see their coach. There's a big question mark there. Buffalo, they got Allen. The coach sucks. Offense is good. Defense needs some help, but pretty much a fairly good team. Atlanta, we got to see the quarterback and the coach. Coach is terrible, but the quarterback, you can't go with Heineken and Riddler. I mean, they got to get a good coach. Chicago looks like a very good team, needs a quarterback. So we'll see what they do with the one pick. If they get Caleb, we got to see him because this is not going to be the Oklahoma offense that he's used to. This is going to be the Bear offense, which sucks. So he'll be running around with his head cut off like Lamar does, like Stroud does, like Hurts does. All you need to do is blitz him and he'll fold. So you got to be careful with the Bears, especially if they grab Caleb. And then what do they do with Fields? This will be interesting if they can get some star players for him. They got to get rid of Fields. And then who gets Fields? Who gets Cousins? That's the thing. The Lions should be trading Goff to, if I was the Lions, I'd trade Goff to Atlanta. Here you go, buddy. And get something for him because you got Hooker. You got a better quarterback sitting there. You don't need Goff. You're not getting value for him. Why would you pay the guy $40, $50 million a year for a guy who chokes, right? What do I need to do? And I got a better guy sitting on the bench. See, when you start giving him the big contracts, you don't play the other guys unless he gets hurt, like Daniel Jones of the Giants. You gave him this big contract. What are you, fucking crazy? Then you won't. Then you're going to play him because you're paying him all this money. The guy stinks. What are you doing? All right. Oakland needs a quarterback. Great defense. We'll see who they get. Indy needs a quarterback, needs a coach. Well, their offense is okay, need a defense. They're probably more of an over team, but we got to see who their quarterback is. The Rams, very strong team, probably an A team. They got Stafford. They got the offense. They got a very good team. So we'll be betting them right away because with Stafford. The Giants stink. No quarterback. Defense is a 25, so they need help defensively. They need help all over the place. Barkley, if he goes, they don't have a running back. And then that leaves you with the receivers, which I don't know how good they are. So the Giants, they are a Z team. Depending on who they draft, it's still probably bet against the first 3 or 4 weeks. Because are they really going to get a quarterback, or are they going to sit there with, well, we got Daniel Jones at $35 million a year, wasting our money on him. So not too intelligent, the Giants, to be stuck with to even draft Daniel Jones. See, that's the point of me. Why did you draft Daniel Jones? He sucks. Why did you draft Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett? What are you fucking doing? Drafting Drake May. You draft Drake May or JJ McCarthy, you'll be drafting another quarterback in 2 years. You're wasting your time. And that's what they don't get. They don't see that. And then it's too late. And so they wasted their time. Oh, he'll be better in 5 years. Yeah. Meanwhile, Burrow steps right in. Mahomes, boom, Herbert. These guys didn't need time. When they're good, they're good. You don't need the time. So that's one thing I would do is start Hooker, trade Goff, draft somebody, trade Fields. I would draft Daniels, trade Fields, and let some of these other teams get them. Pittsburgh needs the quarterback. Arizona has the decent quarterback, needs the defense. Philly really needs a quarterback, but they'll stick with Hurts, although all you got to do is blitz him, and he looked really good down the stretch. Would they go 0-7? But we can't fault them. They put up 31 on Arizona. They need the defensive coordinator and really a new head coach. I'm surprised they kept him. So Philly's problem is going to be their defense. If they play all the Georgia guys, they'll shut everybody out. But apparently they're not that smart. And if you go to Matt Patricia, I question the offensive coordinator's ability or the head coach to have any brains in his head. New Orleans should be good. It's a matter of Carr. I would play Haener, let him get out there. He's much better than Carr. Tampa Bay, I would play Trask. He's much better than Mayfield. Defensively, they're pretty close. Maybe a running back away. New Orleans has Kamara and Olave. They don't have problems. Just play Haener and then check your coach. The Niners, they got a new defensive coordinator. Look at them to be in the Super Bowl again. Washington, the Z team, needs a quarterback. So we'll be watching them. Who do they get as the quarterback? How do they shore up their defense? So assume the defense still sucks. Then it's who's the quarterback. Are they a Z team or an over team? Will be Washington's question, and they'll probably develop during the year. So the first 5 or 6 games, we'll just bet against them. And then if they start scoring points, then we'll bet them over with this defense. Carolina's just pathetic. They need a quarterback. They need a coach. They're weak all over. Their defense is a 23, not bad. They're a Z team. They don't score. So you just bet against them. Bet against most of these Z teams. Jacksonville, I hate Trevor Lawrence. Their defense is kind of weak. Not a team we'll be betting on at all. Miami, a good over team. Tag, good against weak teams, bad against good teams. But Miami is a good over team. We caught them with San Diego last year in like week 2 or 3, and it was a perfect over, and we bet them over, and it was over at halftime. So that's what you're looking for. Miami, Detroit, it would be a perfect over. Miami, Buffalo, Baltimore, any of those. Baltimore is an A team with Lamar. As long as they play a weak team, they play a good defense, Lamar won't show up. But their defense is good. They can run the ball pretty good, so keep that. But Lamar, it's a big game. Well, we're playing Kansas City, Buffalo. Forget about them. Don't get sold on he's an MVP. He ain't an MVP. He's an MVP against weak teams. Tennessee, we got to see the coach and the new quarterback. Houston needs a lot of help. They're going to struggle with Stroud, but that's their own problem. Pittsburgh, we got to see what they get as a quarterback. They got everything else. They got the coach, the defense, the running, the receiver. Give them a quarterback. Seattle needs a coach, needs a quarterback. Geno Smith's okay, but he's very not a good quarterback. And they have a 28 defense, so look for this to be over. We'll see who the coach is. Probably an offensive guy for Geno Smith, some stupid thing like that. I don't know why they make the head coach the offensive coordinator, like in Miami. Well, he's a good he's a good quarterback coach. Yeah, but he's the head coach. What does that got to do with it? What's he going to do? He's not a head coach. That's the problem with a lot of these teams. Tennessee, we're Pittsburgh, Seattle, San Diego should be very good. Herbert's there. We already know what he's like. Keenan Allen, we got the running, we got the defense will be much better with Boza and Khalil Mack and all these guys. Look for San Diego to really be a very good team with Harbaugh. They'll probably draft a few Michigan defensive players, and that'll be it. So they'll be much improved, San Diego. We can bet on them right away because Herbert's there. Denver, we have to see their new quarterback. Otherwise, they're pretty set. Cincinnati, we know. Kansas City, we know. Green Bay, strong team, probably a good over. And then Minnesota, they're really not an over. They got an 18 defense, so they're probably a live dog, maybe. Well, yeah, with Cousins. With Cousins, they're probably a live dog. Good defense and Cousins, but he's a choke. So problem is there's a lot of chokes and there's a lot of bad teams. So let me quickly read you the Z teams. Teams we bet against: the Giants, Arizona, Washington, Carolina, Tennessee, and that's it. And the 8 teams are, them: KC, Baltimore, Buffalo, San Francisco. That's about it. So that's your pro football look. I wanted to talk a little football. We talked Mark McGuire and Comex and brics and gold and silver should start moving, as what's happening is all these big buyers are coming into Comex, realizing the price is low, realizing silver's like gold, that it's money, realizing the US dollar is worthless and gold's getting a little more expensive. So they're going, wow, this whole silver thing we can get very cheap. So this is the problem when you suppress the price. You invite people in who realize it's a low price. We've been in it for 2 years, understanding the price is low. And same thing with gold. And we're watching gold go up, and we're going to watch silver go up. That's what we're looking at. There's not no comments today. That's okay. So normally on the weekends, I'm on at this time. And normally during the week, I tend to go to the pool at 10, 11, and then eat and then come on about 2 o'clock-ish, which might be a weaker time because people are, out, but we'll see. We can change times. We'll see about the job. The interview went very well from my standpoint, but again, it's like, oh, I had a great show today. Or a great class. That's my opinion. We hit Mark McGuire. We hit the football. So, in my opinion, I had a great interview. Problem is, I don't know. I can't read the mind of the guy who interviewed me. Now, first of all, he interviewed me. That's good. Second of all, he did like my background. He told me that. And he's anxious to start, so we should know probably by Wednesday or Thursday And if I go back to work, I'll be back on at night like I was, or it'll be 2 nights in the weekend. We'll see. I'm keeping you abreast. BRICS will be coming out with the gold-backed currency soon, or at least Russia will. And just the dollar's going out. They can bitch all they want, and they can say, well, we don't want the dollar to go out because too many people have dollars. Well, guess what? We had dollars. We bought gold. We're out of dollars. So they can do the same thing. They can get out of dollars and buy gold. Perfectly a normal, smart thing to do, but they won't do it. So that's all I can say with that is that's what they should be doing. And off you go. So that's where we're at. They should be buying gold and silver with their US dollars. That's your out, but if they want to hold down, I don't want to hear the excuse, well, I have dollars, so the dollar can't go out. Nobody wants the dollar to go out. Hey, it's a medium of exchange. You switch it for gold currency, and then you can't go to war, fellas, and kill all these innocent people. I just hate the war. I wish the war in the Ukraine would end already. And then I don't know what's going on in the Poland border. If Jenna can even get out to meet me, she trains to Poland and then gets to the airport and flies to meet me. I don't know if she can get to the border. I heard Poland closed a lot of the borders to the Ukraine. So can she get out? Can she say, I'm just going to the airport because we don't have one? Or does she need to go to Romania or Hungary out? This will be interesting. Anyway, we will see. And what's going on? Daria, I meet in June, it looks like. I'm hoping to cement a date. And I got to look at Serbia today. I was told it's a very nice place and Russians can go there besides Turkey. Otherwise, that was about it. Had a nice birthday. I got my present yesterday. I never seen a tenth of an ounce gold kangaroo. I do have a half-ounce kangaroo, but I don't see them often. And the guy it was funny. The guy says, well, we don't sell a lot of them. And I go, I've never seen you with a tenth of an ounce kangaroo. I saw you with a half-ounce kangaroo, and I bought it. So it's not like you have kangaroos you can't get rid of. You never have them. Maybe at the other store. I don't know. So I told him that. That's ridiculous. All right. About 2:00. I'm going to go swim. Chinese tonight, I think. Birthday. Still a birthday weekend. I kidded Daria. I says, we do the birthday the whole weekend. So because I wished her a happy birthday Saturday. Her birthday was on Sunday. And I said, well, happy birthday. She says, this is tomorrow. And I says, I know it's tomorrow. But, it's like, we'll celebrate it. How can it hurt to say happy birthday and then say it again? And I know it was the 25th. So I kind of I celebrated it Thursday. I got my present yesterday. I'll go get Chinese today. Every day's your birthday, right? Just try to enjoy. So anyway, instead of going to play poker, I bought gold and silver. And the funny part is I know with the gold and silver, I'm going to make money. The poker, it's really a lot of luck, hold'em with the whole everybody with the community cards. It's not a real good game. I would prefer playing 7-card stud because I don't like the community cards. Oh, did the 3? It didn't help me. So the odds are it helped somebody because we all have the community cards. It's a stupid game. So anyway, I think that's about it. Stoic, be stoic, be smart. Somebody makes a comment. Like I was coming out of the hot tub yesterday and some guy was in my spot, but he was in between the sprayers, the jets, right? There's a jet here and a jet here, and he's sitting in the middle. So he's taking up both jets by not being on a jet. And that's why we're in the hot tub. So I'm walking out and he's walking out we're both getting out at the same time. And I wanted to say, what the fuck? Why didn't you take one jet? But I didn't. I got stoic and I just ignored him. He wasn't talking to me, but I was going to say something like, well, it would have been nice if you would have picked one jet and let somebody else take another jet. But it wasn't that crowded. But it's where I like to be. But again, I was stoic and I didn't really say anything. So anyway, so that's what's going on. If you read, the inflation is rampant. It's not prices. It's once the money is printed, the money is printed. There's heavy inflation. You can play games with the prices all you want. That doesn't matter. That's not the inflation. It just takes more money to buy the goods if the goods can go up in price. If not, then it's still worthless money. And you don't fix it. The only way you fix it is to come out with a new currency and preferably backed by gold. That's what the Germans did. They got rid of their Reichsmark and came out with the Deutschmark. And that stopped the inflation because you switched money. So that's really what you're trying to do. Anyway, off to the pool, off to Chinese, and I will be on about 11:30 tomorrow. Have a nice day. Be safe. Be smart. Watch your sugars and your carbs, and have a good day. All right. www.teaserking.com. Take care. Bye.